Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. And welcome to my podcast, The Devil and the Deep Blue Me. And I am your host, Rich Bruck. Well, welcome back, friends, to those who have been here before and to those that are just finding me for the first time. Well, I am very glad that you did. So, up till now, we've talked about a lot of external challenges, from relationships to the myth of effortless success. But this week, we're going to go internal. We're talking about an enemy that lives right between our ears, a silent saboteur that's probably derailed more good ideas and opportunities than any external force. We're talking, of course, about overthinking. And man, if I could take back all the hours I've spent agonizing over decisions or dissecting conversations or trying to plan every single note before I even played it, well, I can safely say I'd probably have written a dozen more albums by now. But you know the feeling, right? That spinning wheel in your head. You've got a decision to make, a creative project to start, even an email to send. And instead of just doing it, you analyze it from every conceivable angle. You play out every possible scenario. You imagine every potential flaw. You think about it so much that you end up doing nothing. Or even worse, you make yourself sick with worry over something that, in hindsight, was completely trivial. I myself personally have been a card-carrying member, a gold card member, in fact, of the Overthinkers Club for decades now. I remember agonizing for weeks, sometimes months, over what seemed like a monumental decision. And looking back, most of those decisions could have been made in 5 minutes. The overthinking didn't lead to a better outcome. It just led to lost time and a whole lot of unnecessary anxiety. It's like standing at the edge of a shallow pool, desperate for a swim, but spending hours analyzing the chemical composition of the water, the precise angle of entry, and the potential trajectory of every single splash. And you get so caught up in the analysis that you miss out on the actual swim. And as a songwriter, overthinking can be an absolute creativity killer. I mean, you get a cool riff or a lyrical idea, and instead of just letting it flow, you start to dissect it. Is it original enough? Will people like it? Is it too simple? Is it too complex? Should I have used a flat 5? I mean, before you know it, the spark is gone. The inspiration has evaporated into a cloud of self-doubt. And that's the insidious nature of overthinking. It promises clarity, but often delivers paralysis. For a very long time, I felt like overthinking was a sign of being thorough or intelligent. I thought it meant I was being careful, analytical, even strategic. But what I wish I knew then was that it was actually a form of self-sabotage, often rooted in fear. Fear of making a mistake, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. And it kept me stuck, trapped in my own head, instead of out there doing my thing. My decision to finally take center stage with my own music, which felt like, my last attempt to make something of myself, actually required me to consciously stop overthinking and just do it. And I'll tell you, it was liberating as hell. And here's something I've learned that, it might surprise you, but overthinking is actually our brain's way of trying to protect us from uncertainty. In our ancestors' time, careful, deliberation could mean the difference between life and death. But in our modern world, most of our decisions, they aren't life-threatening at all, yet our brain still treats them like they are. The primitive part of our mind can't distinguish between choosing a career path and avoiding a saber-toothed tiger. Both trigger that same hyper-vigilant analysis mode. And understanding this helped me realize that my overthinking wasn't a character flaw. It was an outdated survival mechanism running wild in a world that no longer needed it. I would recall not that long ago a period where, well, you know what? My whole life up until just under 2 years ago, I would mix a song. I'd listen back 100 times and I would dissect every nuance, find every perceived flaw, and then I would remix it again and again and again, endlessly. This wasn't about striving for excellence. It was about trying to achieve some impossible perfection driven by overthinking. The original spontaneity, that the feeling, the very essence of the performance would often just get lost in that endless loop of analysis. And what I wish I knew then is that perfection is the enemy of good, and overthinking is the enemy of action. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just let the good be good and move on. Trust your instinct, trust your practice, and then just let her rip. But here's the paradox that I've discovered. The more you try to think your way out of overthinking, the deeper you dig yourself in. It's like quicksand for the mind. The harder you struggle against it, the more trapped you become. The real breakthrough came when I learned to recognize the difference between productive thinking and mental spinning. Productive thinking moves you forward. It generates options. It leads to actions. Mental spinning just, spins. It feels like work, but really it's just elaborate procrastination dressed up as diligence. And you know what? I see this with my music students too. And especially the more talented ones, ironically. But they'll have a great natural feel, a strong intuition for music. But then they'll get to a certain point and start to overthink every note, every chord change. They'll try to analyze the why of every choice instead of just the feeling and feeling how. And suddenly their playing becomes stiff, forced, joyless. And what I try to show them is that while analysis it's certainly important for learning, there's a point where you have to let go and just play. You have to trust the hours that you've already put in. You have to trust your ear, and you have to trust your gut feeling. What I wish I knew then was that confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's taking action despite the doubt. Every successful person I know still has moments of uncertainty, still questions their choices. The difference is they've learned to act before the overthinking spiral can take hold. They've developed what I call intelligent impulsiveness, the ability to gather just enough information to make a reasonable decision, and then bang, they move. They understood that in most cases, a good decision executed quickly beats the hell out of a perfect decision that never happens. The most effective path is often the simplest one. It's about taking imperfect action over perfect inaction. It's about recognizing when your brain has had enough data and it's time for your intuition to take over. It's about understanding that every creative person, every person trying to build something, faces this same internal battle. And the ones who make progress aren't the ones who never overthink. They're the ones who learn to recognize it, acknowledge it, and then politely tell it to take a back seat so they can actually do it. So, the reflection here is that overthinking is a silent saboteur that robs you of clarity. It robs you of time, and it robs you of momentum. The gift, the wish I knew, is learning to disengage that from the endless mental loop, to trust your instincts, and to lean into action, even if it's imperfect. because 1,000 imperfect actions are almost always better than a single perfectly planned one that never gets executed. All right. But now it's time for a little enrichment. Speaking of things that get stuck in loops or just go on and on, here are some facts that might make you think, but not overthink, hopefully. By the way, did you know that the word decide literally comes from the Latin decidere, which means to cut off? When you decide something, you're literally cutting off all other possibilities. The Romans understood something that we often forget, that decision-making is as much about what you eliminate as what you choose. Every time you make a decision, you're wielding a mental sword, cutting through the endless branches of possibility to create a single path forward. I don't know, kind of makes you think. Anyway, enrichment. The longest time a human has gone without sleep is 11 days. Man, I thought you would die way before that, but I'll bet by day 3, every single thought was an overthought. So don't try that at home, folks. Okay, and the average person has about 6,000 thoughts per day. Wow. Imagine if you overthought every single one of those 6,000 thoughts. We'd all be living in a state of permanent analysis paralysis. Say that one 10 times fast. And the shortest flight ever recorded was just 57 feet. Talk about not overthinking the takeoff. They just went for it. Probably a lot less anxiety than trying to plan a transatlantic journey on paper first. So you see, sometimes the most efficient path is the one where you just go or stop, depending on the situation, of course. But now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Anyway, finally, a little music check-in. This week, I've been working on a new track that's really about breaking free from that mental constraint, or any mental constraint, I guess. It starts with this tense, anxious, muted riff, like something's being held back, but then it explodes into a full-on driving, liberating chorus where all the overthinking just dissolves into pure, raw energy. I'm calling it momentum, or the first step, but I think momentum has a better sound to it. Because sometimes, just doing something, anything, is the only way out of your head. Anyway, it feels like a really good release, musically speaking, of course. But, I think that about every song. It's funny how that feeling of just letting go, though, can translate so well into a rock song. And speaking of things I'm working on, you can always check out more of my other music, all of my other music, on any of your favorite streaming platforms. I'm on, I think, all of them. But if not, I know I'm on the popular ones, the very popular ones, the extremely popular ones. So please check it out. See what you think. Let me know. Maybe there's something there that you like. Maybe I haven't written the song you like yet, but you should keep checking just in case that, I stumble upon it. That would be great. So overthinking, the silent saboteur. The big wish I knew here is that your brain is a powerful tool, but it can also be a cage. And learning to recognize when you're caught in the loop and then having the courage to just act, even imperfectly, is one of the most freeing lessons you'll ever learn. It really, truly lets you get out of your own way. Anyway, that's it for episode 11. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope I will have you join me again next time. And don't forget to keep sending your messages and your comments and your support and your everlasting words of love. They're just fantastic. I do love receiving them. So thank you very much. You can reach out to me anytime at Rich Bruck or at the Deep Blue Me on any of the platforms, any or all of the platforms. And just say hi. Just say, hey, I caught your show. Nice to hear you. Nice to talk to you. Whatever. Just say hi. H-I. Doesn't take much effort. But it would just be great hearing from you. So I think next time it's going to be our season finale of this whole things I wish I knew concept. And it's going to be the art of reinvention, because you're never too old to start over. So I look forward to that one, and I look forward to you being there and joining me with the season finale. That would be great. But until then, please, you know what? Be kind to your brain, but don't let it run the show. Just do the thing. And while you're doing that thing, whatever that thing might be, have yourself a safe and happy week.